something else. Like, I won't be able to do something in the public eye, like if people are
Sure.
not accepting me, sure. But in the country where rapists roam free and are in power, roam free, and where murderers roam free, and where people, who have run cults are just roaming free, I was sure that I'll figure something out. But then it was a threat to my safety, my security, my parents' safety and security, because their address also people knew. Because I'm an oversharer and I do post everything. Like, I didn't post the address, but I posted the house, and it's not that difficult to guess. When 2-3 weeks passed, there was just sadness. I was like, today I have two options. I either cry here or I cry at the mountaintop. So we're going to the mountaintop, and I went there.
Membership means more with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times membership rewards points in your top 2 eligible spending categories every month, including eligible U.S. advertising purchases and select media, and U.S. purchases at restaurants, including takeout and delivery. What are you waiting for? Get the card that flexes with your spending every month. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
And there was no signal in my phone, and so I forgot for the next 8 hours that something like this is happening, and that made me realize that the entire country right now is hating me. And how does it matter? I'm on this mountaintop. Like, in my real life, it doesn't matter. It was the first time that it hit me.
Hi, I'm Swati Chopra and welcome to another episode of Tell Me All, where we get honest, unfiltered and bold with some of the most fascinating voices of our time. And today we are joined by one such voice that's unapologetic, bold and refuses to be boxed in. Hi Apurva, welcome to The Quint.
Hi Swati, thank you so much. Those are honestly some of the kindest words that anyone has ever used for me.
Really?
Yeah. The bar is in hell.
Let's just start with the name Rebel Kid.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what it says. You're bold, you're unapologetic, and you are who you are, and you're not going to let anybody put you in the box and say, this is where you fit. Isn't that right?
I at least try to be those things. A major portion of my life, I've just pretended to be those things.
Really?
And then, I mean, it's still like a game of pretending every single day. Who likes to wake up and rebel? It gets tiring. But I just try to be unapologetic. I try. I think that's the best way to live, and I just don't want to live life with regrets.
Yeah.
So that is sort of the only way I know how to live.
But before we talk about Rebel Kid and how you really became the Rebel Kid that has so many followers and has the love of the audience that you do, I would love to take you back a little bit. Let's rewind and tell me, who was Apurva before Rebel Kid?
I've always been an extrovert. I've always loved talking to people. I've always loved the feeling of being loved by people, is what I would say. And I was always that child who loved being the center of attention. My parents didn't have to force me to dance for the relatives. I just loved doing it.
Everyone has a story of that dance for them.
Yeah, and people usually hate it, right?
Yeah.
They find it embarrassing. I was like, yes, all eyes on me.
But have you always been this unapologetic and bold before you became Rebel Kid? Growing up, what were you like?
Growing up, I apologized quite a lot for my behavior, actually. And I was the backbencher. I was the trouble-causing kid in the class. Sure, I was all of that. But a lot of times when I apologized, it was just for who I truly was.
And what was that?
I liked being free. I liked not listening to sort of patriarchal opinions. And I could not wrap my mind around the fact that everybody in my family was sort of like okay with whatever the norms were. I just did not sort of feel okay with the kind of environment I was growing up in and the kind of things that I was being taught. And I tried apologizing for who I was becoming. But then it got exhausting, and then I sort of realized that no matter how much I apologize, I will never have the validation of the people that I need this validation from. And so I sort of stopped, and it was so liberating. And then मैंने बहुत डांट खाई, and then I kind of got used to the डांट कि हाँ, no matter what I do, you're gonna tell me I'm a bad child, so might as well just do whatever I want, right? So sort of like stemmed from that.
So what was family life like? What was home like for you growing up?
Nobody like in my house is very expressive. Nobody talks about their feelings. Whenever we used to have dinner, nobody spoke. I used to hate car rides and long drives because nobody would speak. And my dad would not, for the love of God, turn on the music. So we would all just be sitting in silence. And my parents would have fought like 15 minutes ago because mom would have left something in the house. And now everybody's just pissed and the vibes are just like horrible. All parents love their children.
Yes, of
but
course.
just my dad was not really that expressive, and then he always like really wanted like a very good girl, you know, that he can protect from the world, and
Yeah.
who listen to her. And I was not that girl, so he was like so confused that this was all I wanted, and now look at her. Growing up, I sort of like just never felt at home, and because of that, I've always been dating someone since I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
Because I just really loved like validation from outside my house. So I would just pick the worst people to fall in love with, and then just try, you know, making them see me for me. And that sort of like got really exhausting.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a better place with my family, and hence I'm in a better place mentally.
Yeah.
And now I've been single for a while, so it's been really fun.
So you're in a good place.
Yes.
What you just said earlier, that I've been dating since the 7th grade. A lot of men that you were dating maybe were not at the same wavelength, and maybe most of the time you found yourself that you were settling. I think a lot of women have done that at some point in their life, where they don't know their own self-worth because there is a lack of something that's coming from actually where you really want it as home.
Yeah.
So I sort of resonate with that.
Women, especially in India, take their entire lives to realize their worth, and they just keep settling because that is what's been told to them, and it's the easier way out.
Yeah.
Like, you feel bad for the people who settle, but they actually just pick the easiest way out. So I have a lot of respect for people who like wake up one day and realize that this is not the life that they're meant to live, and this is not the life that they will live.
I've gone down that road myself. So what was something that you said, I really didn't like the patriarchal notions that I was being fed and taught? What were some of those things that really kind of made you feel uncomfortable being a woman, saying, no, this is not right?
You know, my mom was just never really respected, and she's a very respectable person. Like, if you meet her, she's been through like she was dealt a very bad card since the beginning, and that's for her, like that's her story to talk about, so I don't want to get into that.
Yes, of course.
And I just felt like nobody just appreciated her. And she would also just never appreciate herself, but she would constantly keep appreciating my dad for every little thing that he would do. Like, if he came to our PTM, oh my God, he's the best father ever because he took out the time.
Yeah.
But you feed us, you teach us, you work, then you send us to school, you pick us from school, you do our homework, you check our, exams, you go to our PTMs every single time. And now you're like, oh my God, he's done so much. The first thing was like, I just felt so like, why does my mom not value herself? And she would always tell me to value myself. So I was like,
Because she wants to make sure that my daughter doesn't go down the path that I'm doing.
My dad was very, that you can't get out of the house, you can't travel, you do it after you get married. Of course, like, not talking to boys, everybody's parents say that. I wouldn't really call it patriarchal or anything.
No, I resonate, especially when it comes to you need to be home, no boys, and you cannot go out, do everything after marriage. I think that's a narrative that women are being sold for so many years, and I think somewhere it's still continuing.
When my dad for the first time found out that I have Instagram, he saw my videos, and I used to like cuss way more back then because I was like low risk game, nobody knew me. And somebody like from my society showed him the videos, and he just lost it. And his problem was not that I was abusing, his problem was that who would marry me if this is the person.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
That I am on the internet, and I cuss, and I drink, and who will accept me? And sanskar dena ek baat hai, but who will accept me, matlab that's just not what my worth is, right? Most of my battles have just been like with my dad, and now we're finally in a place where he understands and he respects what
I guess everyone needs a chance to evolve. And he has, so that's great for you guys. Tell me, Apurva, when did you really find that voice of yours? When did you stop being apologetic and find that voice? Who influenced you?
So when I went to college, it was sort of like this entire new world for me. I was hanging out with people who were way richer, way smarter, and had way more like privileged backgrounds than me, because I went to like a very nice, expensive college. So of course the people that come there have lived really different lives from like what I had lived. Started dating this boy. I met him on the first day of college. He sort of changed everything I knew about the world. We would live 1.5 hours away from Jaipur because that is where our college was. And so every weekend we would go to Jaipur and go to cafes there. Every time I'd be like, oh, this is so expensive. 300 rupees ki dish hum kaise kha sakte and stuff like that. He'd always be like, don't talk about yourself like that. Don't say that this is expensive. You just can't afford it right now. And so he changed my mind about a lot of things. I always used to think कि मैं 5 lakh रुपए की नौकरी करूंगी and that's my peak because that is the dream that I was told. And he was like, are you stupid? And nobody had just told me that dream bigger. Nobody let me dream bigger. I was constantly being told कि IIT नहीं हुआ. Now if you're in this college, 12 lakh रुपए वाला अगर package नहीं लगा, you won't be able to do anything. I was constantly told what I won't be able to do, and this was the first person who told me that there is so much more to life than what I know. He made me feel like he saw me for me. And that was the first time I was feeling like that, and he told me that the person that he saw was lovable. And that was all I needed, like that tiny speck of hope that the person that I am can also be lovable, that it made me feel unapologetic that if I can find one person to do it, then I'm sure I can find 5 more people. And 5 people are enough to like live one lifetime, being yourself. Yeah, he sort of really helped me take a stand for myself and just take a lot more risks.
I really hope many women are surrounded by men like this who actually, not stop them but help them and cheer them on.
Yeah,
I think
or
it'll be
women.
Great. Women, of course, but I'm talking about, we put so much faith into our partners. We attach so much importance to our partners. Find somebody who gives you your voice, helps you find that voice, in fact. So now that we've gotten a little bit of a peek who Apurva was before Rebel Kid, but I guess we can move on and now find out, how did Rebel Kid really come about?
I have always been a rebel kid, as I said. The same guy that I was dating gave me the idea to name my channel The Rebel Kid. How this persona on the internet formed is when I started making videos, it came from a place of loneliness, and because I didn't have a lot of people to speak to in my life, and there was COVID, and I did not get along with my parents, so I didn't really have a lot to do except for talk to the camera. So the camera became my friend. I would rant about everyday problems. So I was sort of rebelling against those problems. As soon as COVID opened, I sort of realized that now I need to travel, right? And my parents were like, you can't. And I was like, okay, now I make my own money. Second year of my college, I started making money. So I've been making money since I was 18. I saved that money. I went to the Maldives. I did a bunch of stuff. I traveled again. And then I sort of realized that I have this insane passion for storytelling because every time I would speak to my friends, I would create a universe around the story that I was telling. And so Rebel Kid sort of became that, my innate ability to tell stories. What started as a rebellion against my parents became a rebellion against the internet because I thought that my parents were misogynistic, but they were woke as compared to what was happening in the rest of the world. People around me, the people who are educated, the people who have been to great colleges, the people who are working great jobs, don't see women as equals. Like you would imagine that it doesn't exist and सिर्फ गाँव में होता होगा ये सब और ये सब सिर्फ वो लोग करते होंगे that don't have education. No, they are people who we see every day. And so I got to interact with a lot of people like that on the internet. That sort of became my rebellion. And I still spend my days justifying what's the difference between a bra panty and a bikini. Because that is where people see my worth to be. And now that's my rebellion to fight that in 2025.
It's really unfortunate because I know that large part of India really thinks that these things happen in rural India. We'll be surprised. It's probably happening in your neighborhood. I think when people create content, right? When I'm watching somebody's content, sure, I'm watching it maybe for a few laughs sometimes. But I stay on a page and I stay on content that connects with me, that I believe in, right? Or there could be just somebody can switch something in you and you're like, this is my person. And then you're going to keep coming back for that. And then the fluff is, just a side dish. I do know that your content kind of, I think, dances between a little bit of satire, the politics, the patriarchy, and of course, a lot of fun stuff as well. What do you really enjoy doing the most in content?
I enjoy storytelling the most, as I said. It can be any story. It can be the most traumatic story. It can be the happiest day of my life that I'm explaining. I just really like when you can make people feel 1% of what you felt in that moment. that is all you have. You are the stories you tell. Nobody gets to experience everything with you. People know you through your stories, and I just find it so fascinating that I can tell people aspects about my life and take them through a time that only I was there and I felt lonely. And now 2 million people know about it.
But do you remember the exact moment when you said, okay, content creator is what I'm going to be, this is it?
I was working the night shift
Okay.
in a company in Bangalore. I was aligned to a team in Florida. So I used to work the night shifts. It was a great job, great team. Everybody was great. And the workload was also not that much. I was sitting alone in a third wave on a random Wednesday. And my salary got credited to my account. And I was waiting for my cab in the third wave, and my cab was not coming. And I saw the salary and I saw my Ola screen. I was like, is this why I live in this city? Like, really? And I was making more like in a month through content than I was making a year in my job. So I was like, I have no reason to be here. I am like, nothing is tying me down to this city. If I don't tell myself I deserve better, then I don't deserve better. So I just quit I did a call with my manager. I told him that I'm going to put in my notice. I can't do it anymore. And so I just quit and I moved to Bombay. I didn't know anybody. I had no friends, no contacts. My agency was not here. Just nobody. I came with hope and at least 72 cartons because I had a lot of clothes. I'll forever be grateful that I took that decision because I didn't feel home for 20 years of my life. And then I moved to Bombay, and Bombay was like, let me show you what home is in every aspect of the way. And I love Bombay. Like, I like, it just baffles me that one day I decided, and you're just one decision away from telling yourself that you deserve better, and that life is waiting for you on the other end. And imagine how just so many people just don't take that leap of faith, and I'm so glad that I took it because I was younger and I was way
I was
more,
just going to say that.
Yeah,
I guess age has also kind of a part to play in that.
Yeah,
which
like
is great.
now I would not be able to do it.
You're still 22.
I'm turning 24 this year.
Okay, I cannot talk to...
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's Bullspend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had. Impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Somebody who says that 24 is a lot. I cannot.
I mean, yeah, social media
really double
ages
your
you.
age.
But yeah, like, it's just easier, right? What do you have to lose?
Who? I mean, you're talking about like now?
Yeah, at 22, what do you have to lose? But now that I've known that Bombay is great, right?
Yeah.
And that I have a great life here, it's more difficult to like switch to another place or like move places.
Yeah.
I have been wanting to go for my MBA for so long and I just can't seem to let go of Bombay. And I know that New York will be better. May not be, but like for the arc of my story.
I think time will come for that as well. Like it came for Bombay.
Yeah, hopefully. But I have like a very like tough relationship with universe where I wouldn't really be like, I have 50 crores in my bank account.
But that's not how it works, Sully.
No, I will fight with the universe. How dare you not do this to me? How dare you do
I'm
this?
clearly switching my manifesting rules. You better tell me what you are doing right.
Yeah, I'm
You're
fully
fighting. I'm
fighting.
going to start fighting.
Then how dare you?
Yeah, okay, done.
I asked you for one
That's
thing.
the tone I'm taking with the universe from here on because clearly what I'm
Tough
begging
love.
and pleading is not happening.
Yeah, tough love. Try it.
Tough love, okay. So now we of course you put your content out there. You had the name Rebel Kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment which was like, wow, I'm going viral? Like, what just happened? 1 minute. This is my viral moment. Do you remember exactly when that happened?
Numbers don't excite me. Like, if the numbers are low, it bothers me like it's the end of the world.
Right.
But if the numbers are high, I'm like, yeah, sure. Life.
But initially, when you were just getting into it, the first viral video didn't really like excite you.
So the first viral video, I like vividly remember it. I was going to sleep at 7:30 a.m. It was COVID, peak COVID. My sleep schedule was like the complete opposite of what it should be. And so I'm going to sleep at 7:30 and I'm randomly checking my Instagram and the views on my video have gone from like 2K to suddenly 150K. And so now I can't sleep.
Do you remember that video?
Yes, it was thoughts while watching The Kissing Booth 2.
Ah, okay.
I couldn't sleep. I was like, oh my God, 150K. And in the next 2 hours, till like 9:30, it was at 1.5 million. And I was like, that's insane. And so I went to sleep. I woke up, it was 1.7 million. So it stopped increasing. Those 2 hours are the only time I felt like something is happening to me. And then every time after that I hit a million, I was like, I've already seen a million. A million is nothing great.
Yeah.
We've
So what
seen
is
it.
great then?
That's the thing, right? I dream of these things. Like, I wanted to get a billboard in Bombay, and then I wanted to be in a movie, and then I wanted to be in a TV show. And then I get all that. And when all of that happens, I'm like, and so that's it? That is what it's meant to feel like? The thought of getting it excites me way more than actually getting it. Once I get it, I'm like, yeah, that was sort of underwhelming. Changed nothing, honestly, about my life.
But it has changed a lot about your life.
Yeah,
right?
like, but not one particular thing, but yes.
Yeah.
Overall, everything combined has changed a lot.
Everyone talks about, oh, my video should be viral, or people get so excited when the video goes viral. Has the virality that comes with content, has it ever come with, say, unexpected consequences?
I have been getting hate since my first video.
What was that video?
It was some random TikTok. It has 5,000 views or something. I've been getting hate since then. And the first YouTube video I made, I sent it to like all of my college groups that guys, please support whatever my first video. And people made fake IDs and said that I'm cringe. So I've been getting hate since the beginning of time. Whatever I did, like my dad also sort of hated only since the beginning of time. So I was used to hate. I was like, hate and also keeps coming. Then I started going like continuously viral. Like all of my videos would hit 3, 4 million, and I was at 100K. That was also the time where roasting TikTokers was cool. And then TikTok banned, so then roasting people who are getting viral on Reels became cool. And a lot of people made roast videos about me. So usually when one person makes a roast video, the roast community yeah, and so a lot of people like started making the cringe kid and whatever. People who roast people have such culty following, and I was at 100K just making like random superwoman type reels. I didn't have a community, and so nobody was protecting me, nobody was coming for me, nobody was fighting for me. I just had hate. There was this guy who made a video on me and my phone was switched off while he did that. When I turned it on, I had 348 story mentions or like some abrupt number. And all of them were bhai ne keh ke le li, iski to le li, and I was 18.
I'm so sorry about that.
And so when during latent people were like, that must be so tough, I was like, yeah, sure. It is, because now lawyers, sure. And now like police, sure.
Yeah.
But hate, sure. Like, I have been getting rape threats and death threats and acid attack threats since I was 18. I have cried, I've been stressed, I've told people that it bothers me, but there's nothing that you can do. And I like to see it as you have to like have some problems in life for personality development. I make so much money. I get to go to these amazing parties. I have access to every single like entrepreneur and director in the country. So sure, gali kha lenge. Matlab, what's the trade-off?
But to go through something like this at such a young age, but when you're 18, you're already so fragile because there's a lot around you that you're learning, you're evolving. How does that 18-year-old say, I'm getting so much hate in a place that I want to make a living? What makes you really stay back?
I was so sad, and I would like keep partying, and I would like keep just trying to like not think about it. And I would like, how do you tell a person who's not in social media? And all of my friends at that point did not understand social media, and my parents did not understand social media. And since it was COVID, I was not speaking to other creators. I was sort of alone. And tab tak to chat GPT bhi nahi tha ki girly pop. I've been doing horribly. Tell me what to do. You didn't even have that, right? And I don't think I've ever like said it to anybody. It was so tough. It was one of the toughest things that I ever had to like get through. I lashed out a lot of times. I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done in that time, but that was how I was coping with it, right? तुम देखते हो कि main character कैसे movie में अब परेशान हो गया तो shots पे shots पी रहा है, उसके बाल बिखरे हुए, lipstick. I was that person. I was like, how do like something has to fix what's happening? And I couldn't ask my parents for help because they had been telling me not to do this, and none of my friends get it. So I was like, what do? You sit with the pain and you sit with the hate And then every day you see the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And then one day you wake up and it just affects you a little less than it was affecting you yesterday. And that sort of compounds to not caring. It doesn't happen instantly. It just happened over the years. Now it became muscle memory. Oh, read a comment, right, done. What next? And then I sort of also built a community, right? So the love grew and I started seeing my worth, because when I was making rants, I didn't actually enjoy it, but I knew that it worked. I was very smart to know what worked.
Yeah.
And I always made content that worked. I've never made a piece of content that has failed. I've just not done it. I understand social media. Yeah. And so I knew that would work. And so I continued doing that, but it was just draining me, right? Because एक तो वैसे प्यार नहीं मिल रहा था, कल्टी community भी नहीं मिल रही थी, मजा भी नहीं आ रहा था, और hate भी मिल रहा था. And then sort of when I started traveling and I realized that I can make travel content, and that made me so happy that I didn't care if people were making roast videos on me. I didn't care if they thought that a sugar daddy took me on a trip. Sure. If you think I'm hot enough to have a sugar daddy, sure.
Full props to you and absolute respect to you that you were able to kind of go through something so intense at such a young age and really be sitting in to talk about it. You know what I actually think, Apurva? When there's hate on the internet, right? Yeah. I think the minute we start to disassociate...
Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Of value.
Yeah.
Right? Sure, we need the approval of the internet users to be a content creator and an influencer. I get that. But I guess when we absolutely start detaching our value from the hate community and say, I really don't care about you. Yeah. It's like how you tend to grow up and make your circles smaller. Yeah. I guess then the circle becomes those 3.9 million who love you. You can't be small. Yeah. But you know, it's just love. Then it's where you're getting love.
I've realized that you don't need the approval of anybody. You need the views.
Yeah, well,
you never need the approval.
Oh, well, you can hate me, you can love me, but you're watching my stuff.
Yeah, if Hailey Bieber can be one of the most hated women on the internet and sell it for like, what did she sell it for? $1 billion? It doesn't matter. Yeah. I want an exit. Somebody come and buy my company that I'm going to build in a few years. Yeah. And you hate me, love me, I don't care. I want to be Hailey Bieber now. Like my idol has become Hailey Bieber.
The internet needs to just hate, man. They just need to find someone to hate on for a while and then till the next one comes along. Yeah. And I think people are just so scared of anybody whose voice challenges them and triggers them. Yeah. Right? Like today you may say something to me about me and I'd be like, what the hell? But I come from a space because you're triggering me, you're challenging my thought.
Yeah. And they don't have anything to do with their time. So they form these parasocial relationships with people and they form these connections that don't actually exist. Yeah. And they start thinking of you as this entity that they need to control when they don't even know you because they don't have people in their lives. They don't have jobs. And that is it. That's the truth. You and I, we're busy people. We don't take out the time to think about somebody else's path and somebody else's choices and then comment on it and then hate on it and then prove how we're right because we have better things to do.
You know, of course, when there's content out there and when someone as bold as you know, decides to put yourself out there and then comes virality and you become the rebel kid with what today we stand at 3.9 million followers, right? When you reach there, of course, there are times when things explode. Yeah. And that is something, unfortunately, it did happen with you. Yeah. And once again, I don't know how you did it. Because like you said, you know, earlier there was just hate. And then, well, with Latent, there was cops. Yeah. You know, there were lawyers. I really want to know, Apurva, what was really going on in your mind when this entire Latent episode was unfolding?
Yeah, I think I was extremely angry. Yeah. Like I started with a lot of disbelief. That was the first feeling.
I'm sure.
I was like, can't be. Has to be a joke, right? Like it's not possible. And so I was like that for the first 12 hours. And then everybody's like, snap out of it. Like snap, it's happening. Yeah. And then everybody told me not to open Twitter and I opened Twitter. And that's when it hit me that it's way bigger than what I'm thinking.
You thought it'll pass. It's just like a...
And so for the first like few days, I was extremely angry. at everybody. Like anybody who told me it'll be fine, I was like, you shut up. You don't know anything. And then I was angry with everybody on the internet. I was angry with my friends. I was angry with people who didn't support me. I was angry with people who supported me. So just anger, like plain anger for a few days. Then I was very scared of losing my career, which I was also fine with. I knew I will do something else. Like I won't be able to do something in the public eye. Like if people are not accepting me, sure. But in the country where rapists roam free and are in power, where murderers roam free, and where people, who have run cults are just roaming free, I was sure that I'll figure something out. But then it was a threat to my safety, my security, my parents' safety and security, because their address also people knew. Because I'm an oversharer and I do post everything. Like I didn't post the address, but I posted the house, and it's not that difficult to guess. When 2-3 weeks passed, there was just sadness. Like I was so sad for such a long time. I would not talk to anybody. I would not know. I would just keep asking everybody that, do you promise it'll be okay? And everybody would be like, Pinky, promise. And I'd be like, but how do I trust you? And so I kept having the same conversations with people over and over and over and over again to a point where everybody was like, good God, get a grip. It's been...
But how difficult to get a grip at this point, man? Because it's your career, it's your life, it's your safety, it's your parents. There's a lot at stake. How do you get a grip?
And then I decided to take a trip with one of my very close friends to Paris. And I was in Tomorrowland winter. I was in the French Alps on a mountain top, raving to hard techno. And then I got injured really badly. And then the same day, the Sabrina Carpenter controversy happened. And then I was just sitting at the hospital sobbing that this cannot be my life. Like, what do I do? And the next day I woke up, my entire face was swollen. Like the entirety of it was swollen. And I was like, today I have two options. I either cry here or I cry at the mountaintop. So we're going to the mountaintop. And I went there and there was no signal in my phone. And so I forgot for the next 8 hours that something like this is happening. And that made me realize that the entire country right now is hating me. And how does it matter? I'm on this mountaintop. Like in my real life, it doesn't matter. It was the first time that it hit me that internet is not the reality. I'm safe, I'm happy, I have people who love me. People are here around me, I'm listening to music. And this is life. This is all I've ever wanted. My worst nightmare, I'm living it. And it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it'll be.
But it's scary. It's still scary.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But like that day on the mountaintop, I was like, I will do a dramatic comeback.
And you did.
Since they're writing so much, I might as well give them content. Let's do 0 posts. Let's do 0 following. Let's do 3 posts.
So this
Let's
was
do a story
planned. It was like, I'm going to do this. Okay.
There were 60 people who have approved it, thought about it, thought about what's going to happen. I have relived over and over again that how will people react? Should I say this? Should I not say this? Am I crying too much? Am I not crying? Like, of course, I made the video, but then it went on edit and then there were 50,000 edits because now you can't say the wrong thing. So, but I was like, now when I do, it'll be drama. I'll give them cinema. I was like, if I'm going to do it and I get one chance, then I would do it fully, right? I don't want to be like, hi guys, I'm so sorry. Resuming normal activities now. Like, I just didn't want to do that. And so I was like, if something so traumatic has happened to me, people need to know. And also because everybody was like, Apurva or Samay ka jo comeback hoga, sab dekhenge. So I had so much pressure. कि अब comeback करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि उन्होंने बोल दिया है अब normally नहीं आ सकते अब कुछ अच्छा करना पड़ेगा.
And it absolutely worked. I think it worked exactly the way you wanted to. People took notice.
I could not have imagined for it to go this way. Till like 2 days later, we couldn't really gauge, what's going to happen because there could be a war on Twitter again. Because लोग तो time लेके सोचेंगे ना कि अब हमें क्या करना है. So for the 2 days, we were like, we just hope, Like, we hope that this is it.
When all this was spiraling, and like you said, you took a holiday and you kind of recalibrated and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But the others who were also involved in this, like, what was that like for all of you? Did you guys somewhere find like solace? Like, okay, we're in it together. We're going to figure this out?
Not really.
No? Okay.
Like, I was speaking to Samay quite... I think Samay and I spoke more when he came back from the US because he was also...
With Uber's new women preferences, women riders can request a woman driver whenever they want. Like Amy, who's traveling solo in a city she's never been to before. Or Danielle, who works night shifts at the hospital. or Kelly and Jana, who were way overdue for a night out. Because sometimes comfort comes from having another woman with you. Request women drivers with women preferences on Uber. Learn more on the Uber app.
Touring, we were on different time zones. Everybody was nice, but I don't think anybody became sort of besties after that.
Sure.
We were all in a bad situation together, so we would call each other up and be like, "Yo, bro, alive," and they'll be like, "Yeah, what to do now?"
Yeah.
And then that's it. But I think we were all so consumed by what was happening to us that we didn't have a lot of empathy to offer to each other.
Yeah.
And
I get
how
that.
can you, right?
I get that.
And हर किसी के साथ अलग चीज हो रही थी. आशीष के साथ एकदम कुछ अलग हो रहा था, रणवीर के साथ एकदम कुछ अलग हो रहा था, मेरे साथ एकदम कुछ अलग हो रहा था. So to sit at that point in time and understand कि भाई तेरे साथ क्या बुरा हो रहा है, none of us had it in us. It was still much later that we could all talk about it, joke about it, since we were out of it, and yeah, it was sweet.
Sweet? Sweet was not the word I thought you'd throw in at the end. Looking at the country that we live in today, because there is so much censorship, right? In everything we say. As a content creator, what do you have to say about the censorship that people are experiencing nowadays?
Yeah, I miss the good old days, honestly. If you censor every piece of content that there is, you're just living in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And that's not good for any of us. Even the people who want censorship, it's not good for them also. You have to have a difference of opinion. And I think we're just moving in a direction that nobody wished for. We're seeing what's happening in the US. We're seeing slowly how all of the rights are being taken away from people. And we're not there yet.
Let's hope we don't get there.
Social media was supposed to be the place where people could be themselves, where people could enjoy themselves, where people could say whatever, where people could, enjoy each other's opinions. And now it's just not that anymore. Yeah, people have just taken away the charm of social media. And at least in the US, people can still very vocally speak about things that they don't agree with. In India, the problem is that we can't speak about it. Everybody is so scared of commenting on politics. It shouldn't be that way. I know a lot of people have stopped caring because they're like, hum kya hi kar sakte hain?
Once people become apolitical, that's a very scary thought.
Yeah.
Because it really affects each one of us that's happening. But people are scared, and somewhere I get it, but somewhere I don't get it. It's just in line because, like you said, then it's also safety, yours and your family's, and that's really you hold the closest to your heart, right? You're like, it's okay, mere opinion apne paas rakho.
I mean, the amount of jokes that have been made on Trump and Elon, and the amount of jokes that have been made on Trump by really public figures, they can do that because
get
they
away
know,
with it.
they know nothing will happen to them because that is just their opinion.
Yeah.
And in India, that just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Does that somewhere worry you as well? With this popularity comes a lot of dire consequences sometimes.
Of course. It's so scary. And I've grown up on the internet, so I've made my mistakes on the internet. I've made my mistakes in front of people, and people don't give you a chance to make mistakes and grow up and become a new person. It just takes one person, right, to mean what they're writing, to mean the rape threats, to mean the death threats, to mean the rape threats. It's sure not all men, just one man needed to ruin my life forever, or one woman. It is very scary because inevitably I will say the wrong thing. I will say something that will offend people. And the consequence to that should be you unfollowing me.
Yeah, not being like this hate-mongering person in my feed. Just leave, right?
I have had a man who's more than 50 years old. Some Poopity Pai is his name. Poopity Pai, I don't know. He's made a full video about me, that how I'm playing the victim card and how I've bought glycerin and put that in my eyes, and made this video, and I deserve the rape threats, and I deserve and he has a daughter. And now imagine the people who follow him. What would their mentality be like? And how scary are those people? Because he's still doing it for content and the AdSense check and the publicity and the views, whatever.
This is the kind of content that needs to be pulled down and questioned.
Of course not.
Exactly.
Why would they?
I mean, I remember when you put out that post and you put out all the threats that you were getting and you said, this is just 1%.
Yeah.
I promise you, I froze. I read 3 comments and I switched off turned my phone off, and I kept thinking, I can't read even 2 of these.
Yeah.
I don't know how someone's sitting across there who's the receiver of this hate.
What other option do you have? Give up? Being on the internet is not supposed to be this tough.
Yeah.
I don't know, like what started as this naive passion and this hopeful journey has turned into something like so dark, sad. Like I would have never thought of, you know, all roads leading to here. There's nothing in your power that you can do, and you have the money and you have the resources and you have the contacts, and what can you do? Nothing.
Yeah.
So then what do you truly have?
Of course, we've spoken about creating content, where you come from, what you were, who you've become, and you know, you've paved a journey, like a path for yourself that you're so proud of as you sit here. And I can hear it in your voice that, you know, whatever difficulties, the challenges, the ups and the downs, you've kind of embraced them and come ahead.
Yeah.
Right? But now what I want to kind of shift focus to a little bit is about content creating and women. Being a woman content creator, is that experience slightly different when you look at male content creators?
Of course. It is. Like, how can it not be?
Yeah.
I'm not saying men don't have it tough. Being on the internet is tough for everybody. But the gays and the girls have it way worse, is what I would say. I think people from the LGBTQ community suffer a lot, and then women suffer a lot. I just wish that, you know, more men would be allies to us, and every time we say that it's tough for us, just not take it to their heart and start fighting on that ki, how dare she? Hamare liye bhi mushkil. Sure, Chintu. But just be like, we're so sorry for you. We won't call you the R word in the comments. Just give us that much. Just don't tell a gay guy to unalive himself. Just do that much for us. We're not asking for a lot. Feminism has somehow become this fight between men versus women. We can't be feminists if we don't have men. We need men to be our allies. As sad as it is, we need you guys. And we need you to like come and support us. And I have male friends who have been my biggest cheerleaders, the wokest people who fought for me. And I know that men like that exist. And we need men like that to be more vocal. Because the horrible men are more vocal. And so then we think all men, because those are the only men who are speaking. So show us that nice men exist.
Because, you know, I also think when it's something that's unsavory, people kind of play it up more, right? That's what gets more attention.
Yeah.
You know, oh, ye to ally hai, rehne de. But if there was a guy who right now, say, commented on this conversation, which wasn't good, that'll get played up much more.
Yeah.
Allies, I guess, also get overshadowed by the hate.
That is true. That is so true. And this, like, entire hate wave against women and their clothing, and why are they doing get ready with me's in their bras, and why are they dressing up a certain way, and why are they making thirst traps? If y'all didn't exist and y'all didn't watch those thirst traps, they wouldn't exist. Like we have bigger fish to fry.
Oh, way too many.
And we've gone back to women's clothing, and let's not give women control over their bodies. In 2025.
We have a long battle to fight, actually. You know, this is just like the surface of what we're talking about, clothes.
Yeah.
If you go deep dive, I think we need another 4 hours here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly move on. You know, if I had to say, just move the curtains away. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is Rebelke who's sitting in front of me. I move these curtains away, and then there's a Purva Makhija.
Yeah.
How different are the two?
I'm a softie, yaar. I hate to admit it. I'm not a baddie. I keep crying. I'm so concerned about the people who are close to me. I keep thinking that all of my friends hate me every second day. Then I get sad. Then I ask them, do you like me? I'm still like the 17-year-old girl looking for love. You know, I've just had to play this character for so long where I've like started believing in the character. But I'm just that girl. I just want to be like loved by the people around me, and not the people on the internet, but just the people around me.
Is this something that, say, you strongly believed in as a Purva before you became Rebel Kid? I say they're two different people because as I'm speaking with you, I really do feel there is a Rebel Kid and then there is also an Apurva somewhere, but she's at the back. Is this something as both these people that you have since outgrown, something you believed in that you don't today?
Very interesting. Let me think about it. Oh my God. Like I've sort of outgrown the dating people to get validation. That's one belief that I really had, that I want to get married, I want to be in a relationship, and I will take like my entire worth from this person. It has taken me a very long, painful journey. I don't believe in the fact that the happy ending is me ending up with a guy.
Yeah, we can't attach our
That-
self-worth to marriage and relationships.
Yeah, but
for
I
sure.
always like believe that hoga, ek din pakka hoga, and then that is the happy ending. I've sort of like let go of that belief that it's okay.
But before we go, of course, we have to talk about the traitors.
Oh my God,
Tell me all about it. Tell me what can the audience expect.
I am fully expecting for them to paint me out to be a villain. So I've really tuned into it. Like my promo shoot.
But you also went in saying, okay, I will just be this.
No.
Or are you really being yourself?
I was so scared. Like, I cannot tell you. I'm a very anxious person. I check my phone every 10 minutes.
You haven't done that for so
I
long.
cannot be without, because I went on Traitors and now I'm a changed person. I have to know what people on the internet are saying about me, stuff like that. And so I was like way more naive when I went, because now the latent and all has happened.
Yeah.
So now I'm an evolved person. Like, this is a Purva 4.0. I have like had 3 more lifetimes before this. When I went to Traitors, I was so scared. I can't even tell you. And I was like, this is the only opportunity I'm going to get. I better not. So I put so much pressure on myself. Like, so much pressure. I just didn't enjoy it. How many times am I going to do a reality TV show? Once.
You never know.
Yeah, sure.
Today, though, you never know, really.
Yeah. But I didn't enjoy it. Full time I was stressed. कि लोग मुझसे ऐसे क्यों बात कर रहे हैं? मेरे साथ क्या हो रहा है? मैं किससे बात करूं? I used to write my friends letters कि यार आज ये हो गया, because I didn't have my phone, I didn't have Spotify, so I was like I can't even cry because I need music to cry, and there's no music to cry to. So I was, it's like just get me out of this place, right? Just get me out. And I also wanted to prove myself, right? Because people had only seen me on Instagram and they sort of saw me as this dumb girl who doesn't know anything. So I was like, I will prove to people worth way more than what they think that I am. I would constantly keep telling people, I hate it here. Please send me home. I don't want to be here. And now, when I came out and I spoke to other people, and I spoke to my friend Sufi, and he was also on the show. So I was sitting like at 3 a.m. in his house. It's like, I hate it. Now the show's gonna come out. I hate it. And he was like, are you insane? People dream of this. People dream of doing a reality TV show, fighting with somebody on the show, then coming out, doing the promos, fighting with them on the promos, then fighting with them on social media and owning it. Why do you care if they paint you out to be the villain, if they paint you out to be the hero? It doesn't matter. You are a reality TV star. So you give that a reality TV star. I was like, if I don't enjoy now, I'm going to regret it like 10 years from now. So now I'm like, villain, sure. Got the outfits for that. Hero, sure.
I really do hope and wish for you that you always pave your own path, one that continues to be unapologetic.
Thank you so much. This is honestly one of the best conversations I've had. Because, and I was telling somebody that I don't want to do more podcasts because people just ask you questions to ask those questions and then they have to ask you the next question. So nobody's actually hearing what you're saying. You can just clearly see it, that they're not interested in talking to you. It's their job. So you just have to do it now. I just felt like I was talking to a friend. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I had to be funny, say something that I don't mean. I could just be myself, and it's such a rare space to have on the internet.
I'm so glad that we provided you that. Good luck for everything you've set out to do, Apurva.
So
Thank
much.
you.